PS5 release date, specs, news and features for Sony's PlayStation 5. With PS5 DualSense controller revealed, we're one step closer to seeing Sony's new console. PS5, or PlayStation 5, is the next-generation PlayStation, with a release date of late 2020, and although Sony has remained tight-lipped about its new console, it has drip-fed us a few juicy details on what we can expect from its next-gen offering. We recently got our first look at the DualSense PS5 controller, which boasts some impressive-sounding features such as haptic feedback, adaptive triggers and a built-in mic. But what is arguably most interesting about the DualSense controller is its radically different look and space-age black and white color scheme, which suggests the PS5 design will look something similar, and will be a big departure from its predecessors. Just as important as the DualSense controller are the PS5 specs discussed at Sony's March reveal event. LED system architect Mark Cerny provided us with a deep dive into the PS5's system architecture, revealing the technical inner workings of the PS5. For now, know that the PS5 is rocking an AMD Zen 2-based CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 GHz, 16 GB of GDDR6 memory, and a custom RDNA 2 AMD GPU that puts out 10.28 TFLOPS of processing power. In terms of features, we know the next-gen console will have ray tracing, a super-fast SSD, a built-in 4K Blu-ray player, and will be backwards compatible with a huge swath of the PS4's game catalog. So far, the PS5 is living up to the hype. Want all the juicy details? Here's everything we know about the PS5 so far, and what we hope will be revealed the closer we get to launch. Sony has officially confirmed that the PS5 will release in time for holiday 2020, so likely sometime between October and December 2020. A leak has suggested that the release date will be November 20, 2020, but that's yet to be confirmed, but it's in the right window, and it would leave time before Christmas to get those orders in. This would put the PlayStation 5 in direct competition with Microsoft's Xbox Series X, which is releasing during the same period. Game on! Despite rumors, a Sony PR has confirmed the PS5's release date has not been delayed by coronavirus, so we should still see the next-gen console release in late 2020, even if we're not sure exactly when that will be. We're expecting to find out the PlayStation 5's official release date in the coming months, having not been revealed at the March 18th technical talk. Sony hasn't officially confirmed a PS5 price yet, and, according to the company, that's because it hasn't actually decided how much the next-gen console will cost. In a quarterly earnings call via Spiel Times, Sony's chief financial officer Hiroki Totoki revealed the company still hasn't nailed down the PS5 price. What is not very clear or visible is because we are competing in the space, so it's very difficult to discuss anything about the price at this point of time, and depending upon the price level, we may have to determine the promotion that we are going to deploy, and how much costs we are prepared to pay, Totoki explained. First, we must absolutely control the labor cost, the personnel cost, it must be controlled, and the initial ramp up, how much can we prepare initially, we will work on the production, and the sales, and we will have to prepare the right volume, as we launch this, Totoki continued. It's a balancing act, it's very difficult to say anything concrete at this point of time, Totoki said. But we do know that Sony is aiming for the best balance so that we will be profitable during the life of this product. While Sony may not have a price nailed down, there have been rumors about how much the PS5 could cost. While the latest PS5 price leaks are wild and can't be trusted, some predictions seem a bit more feasible, even if they're not reliable. One rumor has suggested that the console will cost $499 in North America when it launches. Naturally, this should be treated with skepticism, but it would be welcome news if the console did launch at this price, as it's only $100 more than the launch price of the PS4 and PS4 Pro. We think this could be the most likely price for the console, however, that could be wishful thinking. A recent report by Bloomberg claims that Sony will not be making as many PlayStation 5 consoles for launch as it did for the PS4's launch back in 2013, despite no delay to production or on-sale date being expected. Bloomberg's sources are anticipating shipments to max out at 6 million consoles through to March of 2021, whereas the PS4 sold 7.5 million over the same post-launch time period, despite itself suffering a delay. According to the report, Sony is simply anticipating less demand. This is likely due to what is expected to be a higher asking price for the PS5 than the PS4 launched with. The PS5 is expected to really push the boat out, in terms of high-end components, and as such will be met with a higher price tag. However, Microsoft's plans for the Xbox Series X are key here, and Sony could well decide to sell the hardware at a slight loss, to stay competitive with the other console. The PS4 benefited from a lower cost than the Xbox One, and Sony likely won't be keen to reverse that for this generation. We hope. We can expect that the console's price will be in line with the technology it uses, but Sony will also have to be aware of its competition. It's unlikely, with the Xbox Series X, that Microsoft will repeat the mistake it made by launching the Xbox One at a prohibitively high price point, so Sony will have to ensure that it doesn't make a similar mistake by making the PS5 too expensive. Sony finally lifted the hood on the PlayStation 5 during its first official reveal event, giving us a better idea of the specs of the next-gen console will offer. But what do we think? What's interesting so far, Sony's commitment to custom silicon, with a full focus on raising gaming capabilities to the next level, without alienating developers, now comfortable with developing on the PS4. Custom hardware in the PS3 proved to be a difficult element for developers to get their heads around, but the PS5 aims to be as developer-friendly as possible. As has already been explored, the SSD is key to the PlayStation 5 experience. Internal storage will be built in, at 825 GB for the custom SSD, that's less than you'll find in the Xbox Series X, but with just as clever an implementation of the technology. SSDs don't just load faster, but allow for bigger open worlds, theoretically. Developers don't need to make games with smaller worlds, due to the limitations of mechanical hard drives, while SSDs will also allow system memory to be used more effectively. SSDs have more bandwidth, so data can be loaded from the SSD when it's needed, rather than heaps of potentially needless data being loaded into RAM. In pure gameplay terms, that means that games will suffer less from texture pop-in, while load times will be hugely reduced when using a game's fast travel option. Booting up from standby should be generally much faster, too. You'll also have more control over how you install and remove games, meaning you could just install a game's multiplayer mode, rather than the full block of data. This will allow for launch of direct gameplay, allowing players to jump straight into aspects of different games, such as matchmaking, continue save game etc., without having to boot up the full game. This means you could be able to jump into Overwatch matchmaking, for example, straight from your home screen, and would prevent the need to take steps such as booting up an entire game and selecting particular games modes. It would also make it easier for players to quickly jump between the games they have installed. As for expandable storage, Sony appears to be allowing for off-the-shelf NVMe PC drives, rather than proprietary storage systems that Xbox will primarily be relying on. However, there aren't many drives on the market right now that use the PCIe 4.0 interface required. They need to be capable of at least a 5.5 GB per second transfer speed. NVMe PC drives will work in PlayStation 5, said Sony. The only problem is that PC technology is significantly behind PS5. It'll take some time for the newer PCIe 4.0 based drives, with the bandwidth required to match Sony's spec, to hit the market. PS4 games on the PS5 will work just fine if saved to a regular HDD, however, so you won't need to tap into that precious SSD space unnecessarily. A custom processor and GPU, what that means for backwards compatibility. We were already aware that Sony will be using AMD's Zen 2 CPU processor tech, with 8 cores and 16 threads. The reveal stream, however, also revealed that the PS5 will be delivering 3.5 GHz frequencies, so the PlayStation 5 would be running 8x Zen 2 cores at 3.5 GHz, at variable frequencies, over the PS4's 8x Jaguar cores at 1.6 GHz. That's a huge jump in performance. Move over to the GPU, and you're looking at the AMD RDNA 2 GPU, itself customized. It makes use of 36 compute units, capped at 2.23 GHz. A compute performance peak of 10.28 TF was stated. What's smart is that the combination makes it simple for the PS5 to easily handle PS4 backwards compatibility through GPU architecture, rather than hours of coding. Almost all of the top 100 PS4 games will be fully compatible at launch. PS4 games will be supported natively on the GPU silicon, but here the GPU seems to be emulating PS4 and PS4 Pro graphics chips, which is a strange solution, and not as interesting as Xbox Series X's method, which will also be capable of upscaling previous Xbox generation games, and adding HDR to previously HDR-less titles. Tempest 3D audio tech. Perhaps the biggest reveal of the day was the 3D audio support, thanks to the new Tempest engine. It's an incredibly powerful system. If the PSVR can support 50 pretty decent sound sources, according to Sony, with the PSVR's distinct audio system being one of the more complex audio systems in gaming at the moment, the PS5's Tempest engine can support hundreds. The example Sony used described it in terms of rainfall. Today, the sound of rain in a game is a single audio track, but the PS5 would theoretically be capable of letting you hear individual raindrops in relation to where the player character is. Where we ended up is a unit with roughly the same SIMD, single instruction, multiple data, power and bandwidth, as all 8 Jaguar cores in the PS4 combined, said Sony. If we were to use the same algorithms as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources, but of course, we want to use more complex algorithms, and we don't need anything like that number of sounds. Perhaps best of all is the way you'll get to experience this. Even a lowly pair of headphones at launch will be able to take advantage of the sense of presence and directionality Sony is promising here, with the company also committing to later support multi-speaker surround systems with the tech. But this is an ongoing project for Sony. To accurately model surround data positioning, Sony needs to create a head-related transfer function, or HRFT, map. Essentially, that's a distinct algorithm that works best if the system knows the precise shape of your ears. Maybe you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll use a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in our library, Sony teased. Maybe you'll be sending us a video of your ears and your head, and we'll make a 3D model of them and synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio game to tune your HRTF. We'll be subtly changing it as you play, and home in on the HRTF. That gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you the best. This is a journey we'll all be taking together over the next few years. Ultimately, we're committed to enabling everyone to experience that next level of realism. There's still been no official PS5 design reveal, but the reveal of the DualSense PS5 controller has given us a fairly good idea of what we can expect the next-gen console to look like. While we're mostly dealing with speculation, we can assume that the PS5 console's design will match, or at least be similar to, that of its controller. To date, PlayStation controllers have always matched their console counterparts. It would be odd for this not to be the case. And what's immediately striking about the DualSense controller is its new design and, in particular, its two-tone white and black color scheme. This suggests that we could see a two-tone, white and black PlayStation 5 console, similar to the controller, with the console itself boasting a primarily white design, with black lining or sections. Not only is the DualSense controller's color scheme different from what we've seen in previous PlayStation gamepads, but its overall shape and design is also a huge departure. Sony has gone futuristic with the DualSense's design. And, while we know that the PS5 won't look anything like the dev kits we've seen so far, the alien futuristic design may be in the right vein. The controller is white, but looks pretty simple and sleek. With a boomerang-like rounded shape, no definition in the button colors, and a blue light on either side of the touchpad, it looks like Sony is aiming for a minimalistic, futuristic design for the PS5. As we pointed out with the color scheme, PlayStation controllers often match their counterpart consoles, so we can expect a similar minimalist design for the PS5, likely with blue lighting, slightly rounded edges and little definition when it comes to buttons and ports. Rumors have cropped up, suggesting that Sony will double down by launching the PlayStation 5 Pro at the same time as its base model PS5. Spotted by WCCF Tech, noted Japanese games journalist, Zenji Nishikawa, made the claim in a video on his YouTube channel, and while that kind of thing wouldn't normally be considered a rock-solid lead, Nishikawa has been proven correct in the past with his predictions about the PS4 Pro and Switch Lite. According to Nishikawa, the PS5 Pro will cost around $100 to $150 more than the basic PS5 console. The report states that Sony is taking this approach because it has acknowledged the interest in a high-end model and wants to give players what they want right from the beginning of the generation. NeoGAF user FX Veteran, via TweakTown, has since added fuel to the fire by claiming Sony plans to release 2 PlayStation 5 models at the same time, a PS5 Pro and a PS5, with the PS5 Pro being top of the line to compete with the Xbox Series X's potential iteratively more powerful versions. While a PlayStation 5 Pro is likely on the cards, we don't think it'll release at the same time as the regular PS5. In our opinion, it's more likely that Sony will wait around 3 years, 2023, before giving the console an upgrade. Usually this happens mid-cycle, and the PS5 lifecycle is estimated to be around 6 to 7 years. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more upcoming videos.